Hey guys, Mark Gentili. I'm the managing editor of Sudbury.com and Northern Life. It's January, it's the new year, so we thought, hey, why not sit down with Mayor Brian Bigger? We'll talk about the 2 years that have passed since the election. We'll talk about some issues that have come up in the city over the course of the last year. We'll talk about priorities heading into the next election. We're going to talk about arena. We're going to talk about big projects. And what better place to do it than in downtown Sudbury? So rather than sitting in a boardroom somewhere, we decided to come down to Old Rock, plunk down. I've got my Earl Grey tea. The mayor has his orange pico, and we're gonna chat about politics, and we're gonna chat about some things that are going on in Greater Sudbury. So, welcome, Mr. Mayor. Nice to see you.
Good to see you again, Mark.
I hope you had a good Christmas.
Yeah, it was a very good Christmas and nice and quiet.
Yeah.
Family up to Sudbury. So
that's excellent. And it suddenly turned winter just as the holiday dawned. So and we've been now inundated for the last 3 weeks with nonstop winter action.
Absolutely, and it's great for all of the activities that everybody enjoys outdoors.
Are you a winter guy?
I really do enjoy the outdoors in the winter. So especially on a beautiful sunny day, getting out in the lakes.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Without further ado, I want to get into this with you, okay? I want to talk about some of these issues that people have been asking us about, that we've been seeing in the comment sections on Sudbury.com, that we've been getting calls from readers about in letters and that sort of thing. And one of the first things, most recently as Tuesday, the city decided to back the Summer Games bid. And just in case you haven't sort of been following that story, what that means is the city has to commit $3 million, and you have to commit to covering any deficits that the games might incur.
That's right.
So maybe, you support it. You support bringing the Summer Games to Sudbury. I'm a bit curious why that is. Like, where does your support come from?
Well, it's part of the vision of really diversifying our economy,
right,
and part of supporting arts and culture and sports. Mm-hmm. And sports tourism is something that I think Sudburyans have supported for a long, long time.
Okay.
And sports thrive in our community.
Yeah.
Lots of success there. And from the information that I found around the Canada Summer Games, great stories of success and ongoing success for the communities that invested in this opportunity. So,
what do you mean by that, ongoing success for communities that have? Because that's one of the concerns that people have, is that, geez, we're putting up a ton of money, we're committing there's a ton of risk involved for Sudbury. At least the perception of quite a number of people is that there's a considerable amount of risk. So what are the potential benefits?
Well, so with the Canada Summer Games, if we are selected, it's an opportunity that only comes around once every 22 years in the province of Ontario.
Yeah.
The $3 million commitment from the city will be matched by roughly $20 million from the federal and provincial government in contributions into our sports facilities in our community. And what we've seen examples of Sherbrooke or last year I was talking to the mayor of Kamloops, and he was actually here in Sudbury and met with him. Kamloops, for example, is a wonderful story of in 1993 they had the Canada Summer Games and hosted within their community. Mm-hmm. Their population is 85,000 people.
Okay.
4 hours from Calgary, 4 hours from Vancouver, and if you're to look at the information behind all of the events that they've been able to host since 1993, it really has strengthened their economy and turned into a total sports tourism industry with these initial investments.
So does that, you're a numbers guy, you're an accountant, that's your background, you're kind of known as kind of being a bit careful about these sort of things. So I'm going to assume that you've done your homework on the Canada Games. Yeah. So have there been cities that you know of that have lost money or suffered because they decided that they were going to host the games?
Well, I really haven't seen any cities that have suffered from the investments they made in sports tourism. And the Canada Summer Games have been operating since 1967. Mm-hmm. In 2009, they didn't have any national sponsors of the program.
Okay.
They've now accumulated over 13 national sponsors that contribute to the Canada Summer Games.
Okay.
And so millions of dollars of contributions from national sponsors.
Yeah.
the contributions from our community. I'm sure one of the questions was the ability to attract volunteers.
Yeah.
We're able to attract people from regionally from all over Northern Ontario, and I really do believe in our ability to host these games.
Now, not all of council agrees with you. Some members of council, they're concerned about the number of volunteers and they're concerned about that risk. Are their concerns unfounded?
Well, obviously we are aware of the challenges, and we know we need to plan and work very hard at attracting volunteers and attracting private sector funding and managing our expenses through running the Canada Summer Games. But the recent successes with the Canada Summer Games, the amount of public interest in sponsoring and aiding and funding these types of games, we're not alone in this, and the committee, as I said, has been working on this since 1967. So they have a lot of experience, and they certainly don't want to see any community fail. And so they're well-trusted partners. The other thing is that we've gone through the first hurdles. So technical requirements, as in their assessment of our facilities, our capability of hosting the games, our accommodations within our community.
Well, that was one of the concerns. Was there isn't enough space in the city to accommodate 15 or 20,000 visitors over the course of the games. I think is that the number that's been tossed around
over the course, but the games were actually run in two different segments. So 1 week at a time. So it's not a total of 20,000 people here
just
in our
descending
community
on the
all
city
at
like
the
a
same
swarm.
time. But it's getting into the technical details that the evaluation committee already came to Sudbury, and that's why we are in the top candidates for being able to host the Canada Summer Games. So we're going to see the committee come back with our bid proposal.
When is that?
They're coming back on February 27th, Monday, February 27th. There'll be a number of activities in the community, and trying to ensure that they know how engaged our community is.
To sell the city.
The excitement on behalf of our city, and we'll hear the answer to whether or not we are going to be the host of the 2021 games on March 30th.
March 30th. How many cities? I can't remember how many cities we're competing against.
So we're competing against Niagara region. We're competing against the Tri-Cities of Kitchener-Waterloo, Cambridge, and Guelph, and Ottawa as well.
Those are some big towns with a lot of infrastructure around them.
Yeah, and our so kudos to the hard work of our staff and to the committee that's brought us this far. One of the things that is well recognized is that the Canada Summer Games are not specifically designed for a large center like Toronto or Ottawa. It really is designed to facilitate an investment in sports and sports tourism in medium-sized communities, and we fit that perfectly. And we believe we have a very strong chance at this, being really our unique combination of Anglophone, Francophone, and Indigenous cultures here in Canada, and really to showcase Canada and what we can do in Sudbury here.
Has Northern Ontario ever hosted? Northern Ontario cities not hosted the games before, have they?
I don't believe the Canada Summer Games.
There's been Ontario Summer Games that have been hosted in Northern Ontario, but this is the first national one, I think, that has a chance of coming to the north.
Well, absolutely, the first time for Sudbury. So,
that would
as
be
I said,
it would be a feather in our cap, I suppose, at least from that standpoint.
Well, as I said, once every 22 years, if we are not selected as the host, there's no other opportunity within the next 22 years. So it's something that now's the time to make a decision. Now's the time to actually keep ourselves in the position to be able to host the games. And obviously the committees, the technical committees from the Canada Summer Games will do their best to select the community that they believe has the greatest chance of success. And we believe we are the community that has the greatest chance of success.
I would think I wouldn't think any other way of you.
So we're very interested in finding out that answer on March 30th, and it's an investment in the teenagers, in an entire segment of our community that we would like to make an investment in.
Now, on the subject, I mean, that's a sort of a development question as well. Sudbury's going to get the money that's going to be pumped into the city that our $3 million leverages is going to allow some amenities to be beefed up and that sort of thing. We'll get some new amenities out of it, sports amenities out of it, I think, as well. On the subject of sort of sports amenities, obviously the arena, the question of the arena, I mean, that is one of the I think everyone in Sudbury has an opinion about whether the arena should be downtown or on the Kingsway or what it should look like or where it should be. I don't want to ask you that. I think you've told me before that you are more concerned with the arena being in the spot that is best suited for it. You're not so concerned about where exactly it goes. Am I right?
It comes down to what's best for the community, and so we've retained an expert who's been involved in more event center decisions across Canada than anyone else that I'm aware of. And there will be a report brought back to council in the beginning of March, and we have a deadline for June to have an RFP out, and so we're moving in responsible but fairly quick pace towards making decisions on the event center.
You kind of under-promised and over-delivered with the consultant was supposed to be done, I think, by May, right? And then the RFP in June. Since the consultant is going to be done like 2 months early, are we going to be getting the RFP process moving forward earlier then?
Well, obviously with the report, we haven't seen the report yet, and the public hasn't seen the report. So the process will unfold as it will, with our deadline of June for an RFP. So we're obviously we always want to have the proper amount of review and communication and understanding of the proposal and what the opportunity really is, and then we'll move forward with that RFP.
Are you expecting, right now we have basically just one proposal on the table. We just have Dario Zulich's True North Strong Center. Really that's the only one we've got at the moment. Are you anticipating or have you heard that once the RFP is actually released, that there will be more proposals coming in than that single one? So
what the city works with is a competitive bid process, and so we have not started our bidding process because the report that we're going to receive at the start of March will outline the amenities, the size, and provide us better information how it can be the best opportunity for our community. And so we haven't defined that, and those elements would be part of an RFP. So that's the process we're going through, and so we don't have a proposal on the table to evaluate at this point in time.
No, I understand that. But that wasn't my question. My question is, have you heard that there will of any other developer that is just waiting for that RFP to come out before they put something in? Do you know of anyone other than Zulich?
I know that Mr. Zulich has been very enthusiastic and has been doing a great job of communicating.
You're dancing around me, Mr. Mayor.
But I don't have any. No, in advance of the RFP. Once we put out the RFP, then we'll find out who the other proponents would be or might be. And part of the whole process as well is understanding, is this something that is design build and we build it ourselves, right through to the private sector side where somebody just builds it and the city has no involvement, or somewhere in between, which would be a P3. So we haven't made those decisions yet, and we don't, and so that's what we're fleshing out and trying to understand as we move forward with the idea of an event center. The best part about all this, though, is that council has been committed to exploring the opportunity of an event center in our community, and we're all committed to doing the best for the community, and so that's the process we're following, and I think we're following a good pace, responsible pace, and we absolutely all want to do the best for the community.
Okay. And sort of on that subject, just on sort of the priorities and sort of accomplishments of your first couple of years in office with this new council, just as a short list, you repealed store hours, you confirmed the city's support for Maley Drive, you brought animal control in-house, and that was a contentious, animal control was a contentious issue in the city for several years. You got the big projects process moving forward, you got the summer games bid out. That's a decent list of things that council has either accomplished or is working towards accomplishing. For you, I just want to know from you, Mr. Brian Bigger, the mayor, what are the big ones like for you? What are the major accomplishments in the first 2 years of your tenure here?
Well, absolutely. All of the things that you've mentioned, the large projects are something that all of council, endorsed and was very happy to support and move forward and explore. Yeah. And so we know that we all want to do things that will improve our economy, encourage investment, grow jobs, and those are things that we've all been focused on. And for me, those are key items in our term. But also very, very proud of the relationship that I've been able to build, and my office has been able to maintain with different levels of government, so provincial and federal government. We had the Prime Minister here, first time ever in the history of the city, walking in with a $26 million check, matched by the province's $26 million check for Maley Drive. We've got a total of $74 million in funding that is additional to what we would have had in the past. And so what's not really clear to a lot of citizens is the amount of money that we get through taxation.
Right.
So less than half of the money we require to operate the city comes through municipal taxes.
Less than half, yeah.
And so the advocacy and working with other levels of government is a huge part of the role of the mayor in the city and advancing our community. And I think the success in that is something I'm really proud of.
About being able to leverage some support from senior levels of government.
So continuing to advocate for our community, trying to stimulate investment, encourage investment, attract investment to create jobs, and really advocating for a community beyond the borders of Sudbury, getting the message out. And so things like the Amazing Race, these things create an identity for our community and a profile, and it's something that I feel that we have some momentum in building on that enhancement of the identity of our community.
Okay. Going forward then, I mean, you've been 2 years in office as mayor now. You accomplished quite a bit, you feel, in those 2 years. You've got 2 more years till the next election. What are your priorities for the next 2?
Well, priorities are delivering on everything that we've set in place, and we have a number of really key decisions to make. As I said, we're Canada Summer Games is moving forward. We've also got the event center. We're working with staff and the groups interested in advancing the Synergy Center, and it's actually one of the top 4 priorities now of the GSDC, and I'm a member of that board as well. And so moving forward to advance the Synergy Center, I've met with families related to the art gallery and people related to the art gallery to look at that opportunity for a new art gallery for our city, and the plan of council is to combine that with a library.
Putting them together, getting more bang for buck. Just back up for a second. Just on, hypothetically, if it is a Zulich project on the Kingsway that has all, that is got conference rooms, it's this massive mega complex. Is there room for the Synergy Center if it's Zulich that wins the arena contract?
Well, so the thing is we are defining the criteria for an RFP. And so if it makes sense to combine a conference center with an event center, that's information that I'll be expecting to receive back from the industry experts we've hired. And so that's why I'm talking about how do we exactly set up this RFP to get the bids so everybody's bidding on the same thing, and we're assuring the public that we're getting the best deal for the public, value for money. So yes, there's a sequencing to all of this, and the thought that, based on the information that we're going to be receiving, we may have an event center standalone, we may have an event center with a conference center built in. Those are all ideas that people have out there. What we need to make decisions on is facts. We need
so there's a lot
stronger information.
So there are sort of a lot of, it's not just the arena we're talking about that rests on this consultant's report. There are other projects that are kind of hanging in the balance depending on what this consultant comes out with, yeah?
So the projects, in my mind, are sequenced in a reasonably logical sequence for us to make our decisions. And another thing that we've heard is that Gateway Casinos is another group that is contemplating investing in our community. And we haven't heard their plans yet. And so we'll be meeting with Gateway Casino. So there are a lot of private sector investors. There's the municipal investment and all of the things that are coming down the path that we need to really work our way through and with to get the best opportunities for the citizens. And I think we're on a pretty good path right now.
Okay. So I want to talk a bit about amalgamation, because we kind of touched on some issues that sort of tie into amalgamation. I mean, we're going, it's been more than 15 years since the city amalgamated now, but we're still feeling kind of the growing pains of that in many ways. I mean, there's still a sense among a lot of people, we hear it at Sudbury.com, that, they almost feel like they were sold a bill of goods when it comes to amalgamation. They were promised more services for less cost. In many instances, what they've gotten is erosion of services at more cost, or at least that's the perception of a lot of people. I don't want to ask you whether or not amalgamation was a good or a bad thing. Amalgamation's a done deal. We just have to manage the situation as it play the ball where it lies.
Yeah.
However, the ward system that was brought into place to govern this massive municipality, from the outside looking in, sometimes seems like councillors put the needs of their wards ahead of the needs of the city. Your council has not been quite that way. Your council seems to have more of a broader vision. I mean, they still carry about their ward concerns, and there's certain councillors who seem to be more ward conscious than others. But is the council structure, that ward structure, is that something that we need to look at? Is that something that we maybe need to alter? Would it benefit us to have at-large councillors, if not all of them, maybe a few? Is there other council structure that maybe might benefit a city with the geographical size of Greater Sudbury?
Well, I really think that our ward structure is working well at this point in time. I don't see a need for change in the ward structures and the number of either ward councillors or at-large councillors. And we had 12 members of council, and we had 2 per ward at one point in time. And to me, that would have been very, very ward-centric because they were both ward councillors.
For sure.
I think we're in a good spot at this point in time, and obviously ward councillors are very in tune with the constituents in their ward. And one of the things as mayor that I also worked on was that we needed to be able to think about the other wards and think about sharing and what was best for the overall community.
Right.
And so that was the starting point of developing a strategic plan that was not necessarily ward-centric.
Right.
It was for the city of Greater Sudbury, and very proud of the strategic plan that we developed and followed up with a detailed implementation plan for that strategic plan that we're now implementing throughout the rest of our term.
Is there something that you do that to encourage councillors to sort of see beyond the boundaries of their ward?
Well, more so in the example of developing the strategic plan, really held the conversations back to what's best for the entire city. What can we do to advance the entire city? Yes, we will focus on the key projects and the most important projects to each individual ward. But as far as from a strategic perspective and the big vision for our community, one of the biggest things I think I was able to do working with the council was to keep us at a more strategic level. And I think that's what you're seeing in our council meetings, where councillors are taking that to overall city perspective.
Especially compared to some more past councils, for sure. I think you're right.
It's also reflected in decisions that we've made. I was in a recent meeting of the planning committee, and we talked about community improvement plans looking at the individual neighborhoods and town centers within the city of Greater Sudbury, and looking at ways to incent development and investment in the different neighborhoods and communities where people are living throughout the community. So, we've taken that perspective to not only look at the former city of Sudbury, but to develop these programs that will enhance communities across Sudbury. And so Chelmsford is next on the list to develop a community improvement plan.
Okay. Do you have a message for people, particularly in outlying areas of Sudbury, who still feel very hard done by amalgamation? Like they literally feel like they have been, they've lost a lot in that deal. Is there any message that you can deliver to them?
Well, there is a mix in different areas, and some areas gained in certain services, and some feel that they've lost in certain services. Our goal, obviously, is to provide the best quality services that we can for the taxes we're collecting, and so the level of services we provide are directly connected to the taxes, and so we're focusing on the delivery of services and the communication and our responsiveness to the citizens by work we're doing to enhance our 311 system and our communications, and I would say that the entire organization is working very, very hard. I would say that my feeling of the organization, having worked for the city since 2009, is that we're working at a higher pace.
Okay.
And there's I see an improvement in the amount of pride our staff have in the services they're delivering, along with all of the possibilities that we see down the road through the council meetings. So I think the tone has changed at the top, and the pace of business has changed, and I think our staff and employees are proud to be moving forward at this pace. So.
Okay. On the subject of council, we've seen councils in the past who are quite risk averse. They sort of maybe are gun shy, afraid of constituents criticizing them. Your council seems not so gun shy. You seem to be a bit more willing to take risks. But that was the first 2 years of your mandate. You're in the last 2 years. We're leading into an election. When facing, like, say, opposition, how can you keep council from losing their nerve, I guess, as we get close to election, when they have to go back to those constituents and say, yeah, I know you didn't like some of those decisions that I made, but I really need you to support me now because we need to get these things done. How do you keep council from losing their nerve?
Well, so we've changed gears a bit. Okay. So there's been a change in the city.
Yeah.
And as I said, the tone has changed, the pace of decision making has changed, and I believe it's for positive and with the intention, as I said, of improving our community, encouraging that investment, growing jobs, allowing people to move back to our community. Right. I think the majority of councillors absolutely see that. You talk about risk and realizing, our chair of finance is a chartered accountant, I'm a professional accountant. We've got about 4 professional accountants. We've got a number of people who are involved in the finance industry. And so I think there's a confidence that we understand how the financials work in the organization, and we understand the amount of risk that is involved in making any decisions, and time is part of that consideration of risk. And so I'll go back to the Canada Summer Games. Sure. Canada Summer Games are 2021. That's 5 years. So simple math, our operating budget over the next 5 years, each year is going to be in excess of $500 million.
Yeah.
That adds up to $2.5 billion. And so when you look at and that's $2,500 million.
Right.
So relate that to a $3 million investment in our own facilities that we likely would have spent anyway. Yeah. And
it makes financial sense.
Financially, we can afford it.
Yeah.
It's not outrageous. It's not overly risky. So I think the confidence and the understanding of the financials and what we need to do to move our community forward. The other thing about what we've done, the changes we've done, is recognize that a council's role is to set the strategy, to have that vision, to set the strategy, and to set the priorities for the organization. And so that's what we do, so we set the priorities in maintaining the roads and the infrastructure, maintaining the water and wastewater, improvements to transit. Those are all things that we're hearing from the public and we're investing in, and actually investing quite heavily in 2017. Never before, more than double the money being invested in all of those areas in 2017. And so we understand how that process works. And we're not in the game of increasing risk to an unreasonable amount, but we also see the importance of making decisions and advancing our community.
Yeah, that must be tough in a way, because I mean, you want councillors. I mean, I assume you got to remind councillors. You've been elected to make decisions, so you can't constantly be in a consultation mode. Otherwise, no decisions get made. But at the same time, you ran on a ticket of we need more transparency around City Hall. Are those two things at odds? Making decisions and being transparent at the same time?
No, in fact, I think it's been working quite well, and there's always room to improve and opportunities to share more information, communicate more effectively, and something that we're continuously working on right from the start. We established a bylaw and a policy of the city for open data, open information, open doors, and sent that message to our entire organization that we wanted to be as open and transparent as possible with all of the information. And there's a balance between information overload and effective communication. You're an expert on that.
I don't know if I'm an expert, but I certainly know where you're coming from.
On communication, and so there's a balance, right? And so we're through the budget process, we had 11 open town hall meetings. Could the uptake of citizens be more? Yes, it could, and it will be. And so we'll just continue to make those information sessions open and available to the public. I was there, CAO, CFO, the ward councillors, and one of the comments we got from the residents was they'd never seen the officials like that from the city in their ward between elections ever in the past, and so those are parts of kind of the open communication that I want to see and encourage.
Excellent. Well, now on the subject of open communications, when during the campaign you'd made a promise, I don't know if I want to call it a promise, but you made a promise that you would have open mic night at council. I assume that means you're not asking people to come and sing folk songs and read poetry to you. I assume that means open mic night so people can come and ask some questions of their councillors. That hasn't happened. Is that something that's still in the works? Where are we going with open mic night?
So absolutely, with the intention of being very open and transparent. We are continually receiving tons of communication from the public through social media and all of the other avenues, and through to our office and to myself as well. And so there's a ton of information that we are already receiving. One thing that I have decided, though, is that I want to continue to reach out to the community and be more available and more accessible. And so I think this is a great start. The type of interface, and so I definitely want things like this interview and this conversation to continue. So,
but open mic night. Are we doing open mic night, Mr. Mayor?
My thoughts around open mic night are that it would likely, I'll tell you what it would look like. In my view, it would be the mayor, and then I'd have to call our staff in to sit around and help in answering some of the detailed and technical questions representing the entire organization. But I think it's something that I think it should happen this year.
We in doing this, we went out to the public. We asked for some questions. We solicited. We were sitting down with the mayor. What would you guys like to ask him? I've got a few of those that we've picked from the bunch that we had. Do you mind if we if we ask him? Yeah, you ready?
Absolutely.
Okay, here we go. First question. This is from Yvon Lavoie in Garson. Now, Mr. Lavoie wants to know, given the number of Sudburyans who are Francophone, and I think, off the top of my head, I think the number is something like 30%, are French-speaking people in Sudbury. Mr. Lavoie would like to know if you think that Francophones should be better represented in senior management positions in the city, and if there's a way to accomplish that.
Well, the positions come up from time to time, and now obviously they're an open recruitment process.
Yeah.
And the citizens do want us to, to select the best candidate for the job.
Yep.
And I would expect that, over time, the number of Francophones on the executive leadership team would reflect the demographics of our community.
Okay. Do you know? I assume you don't know that they do, because you didn't know I was going to ask you this.
No,
so.
I didn't know you were going to ask me, and it's not a statistic that I track on an ongoing basis. However, it's a very important demographic within our community.
Yeah.
You'll note that I try to speak French as often as I can.
You've been taking lessons, I understand.
I've taken some lessons. I try to speak French as often as I can. Actually did the fire safety messaging at Christmas time on Le Loup. In French.
It was pretty good too.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. But I think it's important to recognize and support our Francophone community, and so I am supportive and.
Okay. I think what Mr. Lavoie is asking, though, is sort of beyond paying sort of lip service to, yes, it's important to have Francophones, and people who answer the phone and that sort of thing at City Hall, I mean, they have to be bilingual, I understand. But I think he's talking about, should there be a mechanism in place to ensure that there is more Francophone representative among senior management positions? I think he's asking for more if there's an actual mechanism that should be put in place, in your opinion.
Well, obviously, and I'll say obviously because I'm quite sure in any application, it obviously is an advantage to any person would be apply that would have more than one language, and Francophone, French language, being able to read, write, and converse in French would be an advantage to anyone. So, rather than digging into the detailed recruitment process, it is an opportunity. I would expect over time that it would possibly work out that way, and that's really all I can say about the process. I believe it's fair, and so we do have French liaison. We have plenty of Francophone staff, people that are working with the public.
Of course.
Are Francophone, and so it's recognized within the city.
Okay. This reader didn't give us her name. I think it's a woman, but she said that she's contacted your office a few times without getting a response. I guess she's having a problem with her neighbor parking a vehicle on their lawn. I assume she finds that unsightly. And I guess she's wondering what she's supposed to do. Who's she supposed to contact at the city if she's having an issue like that with her neighbor?
Well, I would say that the first place that she should be calling is 311 and our bylaw office.
Okay.
And so we have bylaws against parking on your lawn, and that's who she should call. And she will need to give her name and address to the bylaw people to respond. Okay,
good to know. Guy Carpenter, or Guy Carpenter, has a question about Maley Drive. He said, with the number of roads that are already, we already have in Sudbury, and the difficulty or the expense that we already have of maintaining them, does it make sense to build another entirely new road to maintain? And do we have any idea how much it's going to cost to maintain it every year?
The cost estimates were in the $300,000 range. And part of the analysis that was done of Maley Drive looked at the impact of reducing the amount of wear and tear on LaSalle Boulevard and on the Kingsway and other roads. So when you attract the traffic onto one road, they're not destroying the other roads that they may have been driving on.
So there's a balance.
There's an offset in part of the maintenance and part of the wear and tear on the roads. I can tell you that with certainty, once Maley Drive is built, people will find the best route for them.
Right.
I would say that the responsiveness of transit, EMS services, police services, fire services on all of these routes with less congestion will be improved, and also just the improvement in driving from east to west within our community. So.
Good. Okay, Judith Foucault has a question about MR80, also known as Notre Dame Avenue, I guess. She says that MR80 is never plowed past the city garage going into Cape Real in a timely fashion. And she put an exclamation point on that, so I assume that means she's quite irritated about it. Now, Madame Foucault wants to know why. I assume you can't answer me why that is, but what recourse does she have? What if she has that issue? What should she do?
Okay, so again, she should please call 311,
Right.
and when she calls our 311 staff, they are the frontline interface with the citizens on these types of concerns.
Sure.
And what they'll do is they'll take a record number, and they will forward the concerns on to the roads department, and she should expect to get a response or an answer, an
Right.
explanation.
Okay. She should actually get an an answer from roads?
She should be able to get an answer. Absolutely, that's what customer service is all about. So.
Okay. Do you hear that, Ms. Foucault? Call 311. The mayor said you should get an answer from roads. Okay, Peter Glass. Peter Glass has the big question. Next election, is your name going to be on the ticket?
Yes, it will.
Okay. There you go, Peter. Short and sweet.
Thank you.
Gordon McPhee, he has a question about a couple of days ago, maybe late last week, I can't remember exactly when, Sudbury.com, we published a story about the number of unpaid provincial offenses and parking fines and that sort of thing in the city. Numbers up to something like 18 million. It's a huge amount of money. Gordon McPhee would like to know, what is the city doing about collecting that money, or what can the city do to at least recoup some of that?
I believe you probably wrote the article. I read the article. As far as the details of who owes this money, and the majority of people owing this money are from out of town.
Right.
Now, our staff are recognized for effectively collecting as much as is possible. on it.
Recognized by whom?
From other municipalities who have been handling the POA collection services, and so
Because this isn't a Sudbury problem, I understand. This is Sudbury.com has reported that this is a common problem in Ontario municipalities.
this is work that has been downloaded to the municipalities, and so I believe we've done a very good job in following up. And
Okay.
yes, it is surprising. Because there are next steps that happen with renewal of licenses and all of these things, but I can tell you that we're right on it, and we're absolutely. We don't get 100% of the revenue from the fines, but we do get a percentage, and we offset our costs for the collections.
Yeah. You said a majority of those are from out of towners, but $5 million or so alone is just parking fines, I think. Something like that?
And I think that a significant part of that, those collections were out of town. The other thing was that we've been developing relationships and agreements with other municipalities to aid in collection, to follow through, to ensure that the licensing option is followed through, or potentially to add fines to municipal tax bills. So if you own property in another community, that they can collect it on our behalf and remit it.
Oh, that's a good system. So this is something that like AMO or something is kind of working on, or AMO being the Association of Municipalities of Ontario?
Yeah, so we're always looking for ways to partner with other municipalities.
Okay. And I think one last question here. This one is from Matthew Labonte. I think he ran for council actually the last election. So he's asking. He says, considering that unemployment in Sudbury is still in the 8% range, he's asking about big projects. Should these sort of big projects be put on hold in order to develop the economy to grow more jobs? Is there a I guess that I think that's what Mr. Labonte's question is.
Okay, so the growing of the economy and creation of jobs is not something that we can just take money from tax revenues and hand to people to give them a job.
Yeah.
It's not something that a municipality would do. What we can do is ensure that our policies and our processes are in place, reduce red tape, encourage development, manage our development fees and other fees, to encourage investment in our community.
Okay.
And when we see investment in our community, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
People investing in our community generally gets associated with job creation,
Yeah.
and so that's what we're trying to do. We're really by pursuing the large projects. Naily Drive, associated with Naily Drive, is roughly about 800 FTEs were identified with the Naily Drive
800
project.
what? FTEs?
Yeah, full-time equivalent jobs were associated with that project. But ongoing, an event center and the spin-offs from something like that would be significant.
Yeah.
Spin-off from a conference center and what that would do for restaurants, hotels, retail in our community. So they're all. So the one thing that we can do is work very hard on advocating for investment, trying to support and stimulate investment, working with our provincial and federal partners if we can do that on 33-cent dollars or matching dollars.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a good option for the citizens of the city of Sudbury,
Right.
to continually advance our economy.
So I guess the formula is development creates growth, which creates jobs. Is that the kind of the...
Essentially, that's what we're trying to achieve.
Excellent. Well, that's pretty much it for the questions we got from the public. That's pretty much it for the questions from me. I really want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, Mr. Mayor, to come down to Old Rock and chat with us. We do have a bit of a gift for you. We got you, thank you, Heather, we got you this handsome Sudbury.com toque to keep your head warm when you're out and about in the city.
I really enjoyed this. Thank you.
Thanks for your time, Mr. Mayor.
Great, Mark.
Well, thanks very much for watching. If you made it all the way through to the end, and I hope you did, I want to thank Pepe Panini and Old Rock on Durham for allowing us to take over a corner of their restaurant on a busy Thursday afternoon. And I want to thank all of you for watching and tuning in and learning a little bit more about what's going on in the city. I want to remind you to come back to Sudbury.com every hour on the hour. We have new material on the site starting at 5 a.m. every morning and going all the way till 10 at night. And I want to thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.